Greetings, Fed Talks. Hello. I recognize right now probably your melatonin levels are going up, your blood pressure is going down, you've had a lot of talks, so I'm going to try and pump you up. And we're going to talk about change agents in exponential times. Now, first let's define what a change agent is. A change agent is someone who is willing to step outside of expectations. And when you step outside of expectations, you're going to incur friction. And when you incur friction, what do you need? You need this, a flak jacket. And so I often see my role actually as being first digital diplomat, but also most of the time I'm here to be a flak jacket for the rest of the team so that they can be change agents in exponential times. Now, the other thing that I want to point out is, who knows what this is a photo of? Raise your hand if you know what that is. Nope? OK, well, I'll zoom in a little bit more. This is our home, 3.7 billion miles away. Specifically, it is a pale blue dot taken in 1990s by the Voyager spacecraft when it turned around and decided to take a photo of all of us. And that's all of us. All of us here, all of us in the world, the now 7 billion people, that's us. That's home. Now, what's interesting is, to get there, spacecraft, the Voyager 1 spacecraft, took 12.5 years to actually get there. And during those 12.5 years, well, back in 1977, there were about 4 billion humans on Earth. The GDP was about $7 trillion US, and interestingly enough, the Apple II first came out with a whopping 4 kilobits of RAM. Also had a 5.25-quarter disk, if you remember those floppy disk drives from back then. That was the state of the art back in 1977. Over the 12.5 years that it then traveled, we then get to a world where now we're actually at about 5.2 billion human beings on the planet in 1990. GDP has grown then to 22 trillion US, and actually at December of 1990 is when Tim Berners-Lee actually stands up the first web server. Interesting enough, now we fast forward to 2013, and in that world now we're actually at about 850 million web servers worldwide. We've now passed 7 billion people on the face of the planet. But what's interesting is, we're also at about 7 billion network devices on the face of the planet. That is exponential change. We are living in exponential times. Equally, the amount of data. We're now at about 4 trillion terabytes of data on the face of the planet in 2013. Now, you can bet that's not going to stay steady state. It's going to change dramatically. So let's fast forward a bit to the year of 2022. That's only about 8 years away. And what's the world going to look like then? Well, by all estimates, by that point in time, there will be more than 300 billion network devices on the face of the planet. Again, exponential change. You can imagine the opportunities in terms of commerce, in terms of what we can do in public service, but also huge challenges regarding cybersecurity, regarding privacy. These are issues that we have to deal with now because it's not changing linearly, it's changing exponentially. And we need to start those conversations. We'll also have about 8 billion humans on the face of the planet, and about 7 billion of them will have network access. Africa is an amazing story. Back in 2001, there were only about 50,000 mobile devices in Africa. By 2015, there'll be more than 1 billion. That is a massive change for a continent that, again, brings huge amounts of opportunities, but also huge amounts of challenges. Same things that we all are facing here as well. The question also about data. When you get to a world where there's going to be more data on the face of the planet than all our human eyes on the face of the planet see in a year in total, we need to rethink search. We need to actually think about, how does data find us? Because how many of us go past the second or third page of search results right now? Now imagine a world in which you have this huge amount of data that's visual, huge amounts of data that is sound, auditory, text. We're going to need to rethink how we do a lot of things. So then when we sort of fast forward to the world that we're going into now, this points out why we need public service change agents more now than ever. Because the world is changing, and with it, in exponential times, we must change with it. Now, in this world, there's no manual. This is unprecedented in the history of what humanity has faced. There's no easy guide that says, if you're facing A, you need to do B. If you're facing B, you need to do C. We can't actually map this out in a logical progression, so we're going to have to run experiments. And what's interesting about experiments is the root of both of those words. An experiment was done back in 1776, in fact. It's actually how we got to be where we are now. That experiment is still going on, the United States and our representative democracy. And what's interesting is that the word of expertise and experiments both come from the root out of danger. And what that means is, in order to get expertise, you must do experiments. Experiments by their nature sometimes can be dangerous. They're not all going to work out. But when you run those experiments, you're actually going to gain knowledge that gets you expertise on how to deal with this brave new world we're moving into. And that's what we need to do in exponential times. The US representative democracy itself, like I said, was an experiment. It's an experiment ongoing. And we, the people, can continue to have conversations about how do we adapt it to the new world that we're facing and where we're going. Out of those dangers came experiments. In fact, it was back in 1787 when a Dr. Benjamin Franklin, after the Constitution was signed, made an interesting remark. He said, "I now know that it's actually a rising and not a setting sun on the chair that George Washington was sitting in." That's the world we're now also facing. This is a rising sun, but we've got to have conversations about how do we actually maximize the world we're going to in terms of benefits for everyone, and at the same time address the fact that technology itself is inherently amoral. It could be used for purposes that were less than good. We need to be proactive about having those conversations, again, about cybersecurity, about civil liberties, about privacy in this world we're going to. So, who were those change agents in 1776? Well, interestingly enough, they were also the equivalent of what we're facing now. 43-year-olds, 44-year-olds, 32-year-olds, some of them you might know. George Washington, Martha, Abigail. Also Thomas Jefferson at 32, as he was planning with what we were going to be doing with the new nation. James Monroe, and Sybil Ludington, who actually was the female version of the Paul Revere, and actually did at 14 the same thing he did to warn that the British were coming. We can all be change agents. Being a digital expert is not tied to your generation. I would submit that it's actually tied to your willingness to experiment with new technologies and learn from them. We all can be that, and that is the world we're facing. So, public service. Public service was always hard. It's not just hard now. If you think about it, back in 1776, Abigail Adams penned to John Adams saying how difficult it is to sacrifice all our hopes and expectations to the public weal. That is what public service is about. And it's not just something that someone does if you're a government professional. It's something that we, the people, do. It's something that the public does. It's something that private sector does in partnership with government. It's something that anyone can be involved in if they're willing to take the stand and be a change agent for the world we're facing. Abraham Lincoln, 1863, was pointing out that we had to take action such that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. And that was talking about the ultimate sacrifice that was done at Gettysburg. Again, public service is never easy. Public service faces massive challenges. It has faced massive challenges and has overcome this. Talking earlier today about Ebola, we also had in 1910 the Spanish influenza, which affected 1 out of 4 people throughout the entire planet. 25% of people were exposed, there was a high mortality rate, and yet public service was there. We moved on. 1920, the Great Depression. 1930, preparations in terms of the turmoil leading up to the war, World War II, the Cold War. Public service has never been easy. But if we take the stand and say we will figure out ways to adapt, we will figure out ways to actually deal with this new world we're facing, do those experiments, learn from them, gain expertise, that is the value of change agents in such a time. And like I said, public service is really all about you. We are the public. And ultimately, that is the most important part of any public service. We can talk about building bridges between the private sector, between the public sector, nonprofits, academia. That ultimately is why public service is so important and why it's about we, the people, choosing to build bridges. We also need to think about how do we actually bring together 3 key things. We often focus on the public value of an effort, and that is good, because that is ultimately what we should be thinking about in terms of the results. But there are 2 other things that are key. If you don't have the support for a public value initiative, and if you don't have the technical and organizational capacity, don't be surprised if that public value is not fully realized. And that is why, again, it should be about building bridges associated with support and legitimacy, and building bridges in terms of support for the actual organizations to actually accomplish their mission, and why change agents are so important. So we must adapt public service, but again, recognizing that it was not designed to change easily. Back in 1776, and later when the Constitution was signed in 1787, the thing that had just happened was they had fought a revolution against the king. The last thing they wanted was for any one person to get too much power. So they had checks and balances. In fact, they pointed out, what is government but the greatest reflection of humanity? If all men and women were angels, no government would be necessary. So those checks and balances were actually intentional. Nowadays, we might lament, things are slow, they take a while to change, you have to build consensus. But that's actually at the root of what we value about a representative democracy. The challenge is, we're in exponential times. And so maybe we need to think about ways that we can make things more transparent, or maybe even give a greater role to the public to serve as those checks and balances so we could adapt in those exponential times. Other thing I'd point out, Dilbert is funny because it's universal. Again, public services doesn't have the monopoly on bureaucracy, large organizations have it as well, but this is something that we need to consider. So, real quick to highlight, because then I want to turn it over to the others that have other ideas about how IT can serve a role in change agents, we can think about how we can do citizen-led remixing of data. It's not just about government making its data available to the public, it's about public remixing the data and actually finding new public value in that data. It's also about how we can actually collect data to inform policy. At the FCC, we actually crowdsourced the collection of data associated with speed tests. We launched an open source app that actually informed policy in terms of broadband, in terms of how it could be used across the nation. Equally, we can think about how algorithms can play a role, that increasingly it's about humans combined with machine algorithms to make better decisions, not just humans alone, because in exponential times, we can't hire lots of more people, but maybe we can actually have the machines help inform us and then ultimately let the humans decide. Finally, we need to start thinking about the makers movement, the rise of mass fabricators, Raspberry Pi chips, how this empowers individuals to now do things that heretofore were not possible to be done on their own, that required large institutions, that required large organizations. That's no longer the case. So I'll end with a thought. And that's the thought again is, this is home. And as Carl Sagan said, look at that dot, that's here, that's home. That's us, everyone you love, everyone you know. Everyone you ever heard of, every human being who ever was, lived out their life on that pale blue dot. To me, it underscores our responsibility to deal more kindly with one another and to preserve and cherish the pale blue dot, the only home we've ever known. Thank you for being change agents.